organization faces in different domains and different areas. So we try to go in deep with the what all the challenges different CXOs are facing, and we partner with the subject matter experts and different organizations who can actually lead the way and let us or guide us that how we can implement those technologies, as well as mitigate the challenges which we are facing in that particular domain or that particular area. So today's the challenge which we have taken is around the network. So I think most of you have already participated in the survey which we have conducted a month ago, and some of you may have not participated and may be new to this platform, or the survey have not seen. So I will quickly like to review what we have done in that survey and what is the gist of this session and what we are going to cover. So we conducted this session, this survey across 100 plus CXOs, trying to understand about enterprise network and enhanced security. And when we asked them the gist of that survey, when we came to know that most of CXOs think when in the network, if we build up the self-learning capabilities or AI or machine learning in the network, so 78% CXOs think that yes, that will help us to improve our network infrastructure and healing, and that will reduce the ticket FTR rate and also increase the the time which is required for RCA, that also will be reduced. So 70 to 80% of the CXOs think in the same lines. But the major challenge which we have is when we ask that, okay, are you already in the cloud? So around 65% CXO says no, they are not in the cloud, but they think that in future, yes, the cloud is the main thing which they need to do, and also along with IoT. So 44% CXO say that we already have the IoT network in place, but 55% says that they think it will going to be part of overall ecosystem. And 85% CXO says that in next 1 year, they are looking to invest in enterprise network, and they are planning to move to the cloud, or want to enhance the network with the AI driven capabilities and all. And but even they think that this is the area which will be the future, which we have to do. But there are three common challenges which we came across out of this survey. The very first one is network security and network automation. So many of us are facing this challenge, and we want to understand more on this area. Cloud adoption and security around it. We know network will be in the cloud, and we have to adopt or move to the cloud. But what are the security challenges we have? So that is one of the issue which CXOs are facing. And lastly, endpoint security. So these three the common challenges which we have found in the last survey, which was many of you have filled that survey. So based on that, with what we will try to, we have in last 1 month we have worked with Juniper as well as an Inspira enterprise team to come up that with a discussion or a technology overview that how these challenges can be mitigated and how we can actually resolve the issues around the same. So to do that, we have I will provide a quick introduction about the Inspira enterprise and Juniper, and the leads or the team which we have here to present the solution and guide us how we can actually mitigate the challenges in this particular area. So Inspira enterprise is a leading digital transformation enterprise that combines bold thinking, path breaking technologies, and year of expertise to transform business and organization around the world. So from Inspira Enterprise, we have Dominic De Silva, who will be joining us today. Hi, Dominic. So Dominic.
Yeah, hi, Gaurav. Hi, team.
Dominic is an engineering graduate with over 20 plus years of rich experience in IT, a perfect T-shaped professional carrying width of competency across business strategy, consultancy, service delivery, technical support, alliance, strong people manager, and depth in core IT, and in-depth experience in translation of client requirement into IT system encompassing system analysis, design, and architecture. Currently, he is heading the pre-sales and solution unit within Inspira Enterprise, Pan India, and overseas. So along with our partner and subject matter expert for the day, Juniper Networks, Juniper Network is leading the revolution in the networking with sole mission to create innovative product and solution that meet the growing demand of the connected world with having more than 30,000 enterprise as customers. From Juniper Network, we have Rajesh Kumar, who will be leading the way with, or the guiding us through the solutions which we can use in our enterprises. So Rajesh Kumar is head of system engineering at Juniper Networks. He is integral part of telecom and networking industry for over 25 plus years. So that's quite huge, 25 years. His experience in the industry has been crucial in enabling significant innovation in the network domain. In his current role at Juniper, he drives technical solution across enterprise, defense, and government strategies, technology innovation, and partnership enabling business solution across various industry verticals. So it's our pleasure to have you on board, Mr. Rajesh. Over to you to take it from here.
Thank you, Gaurav. Thank you. Are you able to see my screen?
Yes. No, sorry. I am able to see you, not your screen yet.
Is it visible now?
Not to me. Yeah, it's coming up.
It's up.
It's white background only.
Can I stop the video and see?
Okay, by the time Rajesh is fixing up the screen.
Is it coming?
Yes, it is.
Yeah,
Yeah, I
sure.
can see that.
Yeah. Thank you, Gaurav. Thanks for the introduction. Good morning, everyone. Hello, everyone. And thank you for joining this event, taking out time. And also thanks for Cybercraft for giving us this opportunity to present. I hope everyone and their families are safe because of this situation. So that is very important. And moving further, as Gaurav was just giving a summary of the survey, what we saw is that most of the customers have the same pain points. Like when we see how we can reduce the troubleshooting time, how we can resolve the issues faster, and also they want to see how we can adapt the new automation technologies which are being seen in the industry today, and how we can actually enable our data centers to cloud ready data centers, how we can bring in IT and OT as a solution into the network, right? And overall arching, how we can have the security in place. So these are some of the concerns what we see from the customers, and that is what we have also seen in the survey. So when we look at these and when we say leading the way towards AI, so the key things which comes up is the main point is today when we look at, there is a lot of disconnect between the network performance and the user experience. Why I say this is because as the devices, as the applications, and as the users grow, then what happens is that the issues multifolds, because we look at network in silos. We don't look at from a top down approach, we look network in silos. So what happens is that once you look at that way, then the traffic that goes through the network is not the measurement what we want from the experience point of view. So that is where the disconnect is. So what we see, what when we talk to customers, that what the customers say is that they don't want to have this old manual operated kind of a network centric operations which they are doing. They want to look at a new IT model where they can resolve those pain points what I was talking about and what the survey has given about. So moving further, so if you look at this, so what happens is that what Juniper is doing is Juniper is looking at how we can bring in the experience to the customers when they adapt these new IT models in place, right? So for example, when Juniper brings up its innovations, brings up its solutions, we keep the users, the designers, the architects, the operators, everyone as the center. And then we design the solutions and we come up with these innovations, which diverts into two folds. One is the application experience, because the users always access the applications. So first is they need to have a good application experience. And the second we also have looked at is from the operational experience, because all the pain points what we talked about in the survey all relates to most of it to the operational experience, right? So whether it's a patch, whether it's a upload, whether it's a config changes, whether it's a troubleshooting, you look at any kind of issues what the operators see from the NOC perspective, then operational experience also is the key. That is where we are saying how the artificial intelligence, the machine learning, automation capabilities that can be adapted so that these networks or the issues what we are able to see can be simplified, and the network from the complexity perspective can be made very simple. So this is where Juniper comes in, and we talk about simplicity, we talk about reducing the complexity, and we also talk about how you can scale your network with a lot of intelligence being driven out of the network using the artificial intelligence and the machine learning, and then able to troubleshoot your network, resolve the issues much faster than when before the users come to know that there is an issue. That is the key. This is known as proactiveness. This is known as predictive analysis, right? In a normal terms. So that is what we are talking about in terms of how AI can be used to do predictive analysis, how it can be used to do proactive resolution of issues. And also we talk about how we can actually scale the network with simplicity. So moving further, I have divided looking at the issues into three areas. One is the data center. The second, what we call it as client to cloud. It can be a branch, it can be a campus network, it can be in a manufacturing having IT and OT, BFSI having a campus network, or a banking sector having a branches connected across and having a WAN connectivity. So any kind of solutions what you look in terms of the IT infrastructure perspective leads to cloud kind of an architecture. I will explain how and why this is very important for every customer who is looking for this kind of architectures. And the third is umbrella arching is the connected security, means whether it's a user, whether it's an application, whether it's an infrastructure, whether the user is anywhere in the network or the applications is hosted in the cloud or on the data center, security plays a very important role. So we have also come up with SASE model. So I will just be touching upon it depending upon the time, how we have come up with the SASE model, what is the benefits that the customers can derive from the security perspective. So these are some of the key agendas what I am trying to do. So first I will talk about data center. So when you look at intent-based network, right? Today, if you hear from a lot of other OEMs and industry, they are talking about intent-based, right? Why? That is a question. So if you look at the past years, if you look at in the late 90s, we started the configuring the devices using the CLI and the console cables, and we used to build that as a configuration, and then we used to bring up the network. Then we started using semi-automated mechanisms. That means to say using scripting and ruling mechanisms and rules being applied to the network so that we can semi-automate the network and also have view of the network data, but not to act upon it. So that is where in late 2009-10, this semi-automated of scripting, rule-based management, these kind of operational parameters came into place. Then we saw it came as a SDN. That became a big buzzword, which is known as a software-defined data center, where the abstraction of the network layer was taken about to enhance or to faster deploy of services and applications in the data center perspective. Then we saw automation-centric data center. That means to say, above this abstraction layer, the customers wanted to again actually to make the faster deployment, provisioning, configuration of the application services and the network. So the automation part over the SDN started coming into play. So this is how the, if you see from the CLI to RS-232 console cable to scripting, rule-based management to software-defined data center with the abstraction layer, and then moving into say automated abstraction layer where you can automate day-to-day activities daily activities, and then roll it over the abstraction layer. And finally, what we saw today, what customers are looking at is intent based. That means to have automated network actions which correlates to the business intent, policies, and data center dynamic changes. So that is what is the key. Why this is important? Because if you look at from 2012, the SDN or automated SDN, all this related to faster deployment, orchestration of network, virtualization and the storage, configure it, have the visibility, and get the analytics into place, right? So this is where it was coming in. But with the intent based, it becomes much faster, and the rollout can be much faster. And as well as you don't have to worry about what CLI, what commands, those kind of the issues what we see in a multi OEM environment. Those needs to be looked at. That is what the customers were asking for. The customers were asking for, I don't know, because I have multi OEM kind of a data center, how many CLI commands our NOC engineers will come to know, how many kind of troubleshooting mechanisms they will know, right? What kind of technology is being used. So there is a different OEM, so different commands, different configurations, different way of deployment, right? So there is a lot of issues in terms of when you look at that kind of aspect. So that is where that semi or the automated SDN started moving into intent based networking. So if you ask me, then what is it, what you call it as an intent based networking, right? So there are only three things in the intent based networking. It is very simple. One is what is the network, what the network you want to do. Means to say that when the architects define the network or design the network, they want the network how it should be and what services needs to run on that network. So what is that they want to do on the network is the first question which comes up, right? That, and also in an intent based system, it is a framework, what we call it as a framework, wherein it is a disciplined and automated way of designing the network in a repeated manner. That is what we call it. So when you call it as an intent based network, we call it as a disciplined automated way of designing the network in a repeated manner. So when you look at this, the what turns out to be a blueprint, right? I have switches, I have servers, I have the whole data center in place, I want to deploy it, whether it's a brownfield or a greenfield. Then we build a blueprint. The architects build a blueprint how my network should look like, and what is that I need out of this network, and what are the services that needs to run over this network. So what is defined in terms of the blueprint? When we define the blueprint doesn't talk about only Juniper. That is the key when we talk about intent based systems. The intent what we define as a blueprint can have a multi OEM architecture, because it is a framework. It doesn't know whether it's Juniper, whether it's OEM B or OEM C. So what it does is it creates a blueprint. Then what is how? How is it actually pulls that intent and the blueprint and then converts into configuration and pushes into the devices which have been deployed in the data center. So how you are going to take that intent to the infrastructure and push those configurations to the devices. You see here, I am not touching the CLI, I am not touching the GUI of the specific OEM products. We are just defining in one dashboard what is my intent, what the network has to do, and then how we will take care of pushing the configuration to these devices, which we call it as day one. And the important thing is the day two. After this intent based system has deployed the network, it knows what the network has to do. It continuously starts collecting the analytics from this complete network, and then it maps to the parameters of the intent what has been defined during the blueprint. So this is known as closed loop automation. That means to say it will take continuously, it will take the all the analytic part of the network infrastructure, and then it correlates with the baseline parameters of the intent and the blueprint what it has been defined. If there is any changes between the analytics which has been captured and the intent and the baselines, then it will let know the operator that there is some issue in the data center, and the data center is not performing as per the SLA being defined. If you look at this, why this is important, correct? You may ask me a question that why it is important, because I define an intent, it pushes the configuration, after that it starts working. So that is how the data center has to work, right? But if you ask any of the NOC engineers, they will tell you that whenever there is a issue in the application, the first question comes up is your network has an issue. That is the key. Always, any issue, whether it's a storage issue, whether it's a the server issue, whether it's a web issue, whether it's a application issue, first point which comes up is network has an issue. So with this parameters and with this intent-based system mapping to the baseline of the intent of the blueprint, what you have done, then you can easily go and verify whether your network is performing as per your blueprint. If it is performing, then you can go and tell server guys that there is a problem with your server side and there is no problem with the network side. So that is where the customers are looking at how do we isolate these kind of issues and how do we pinpoint exactly where the issue is there. That is, and also have a faster rollout and also faster deployment of the data centers. That is where this intent-based networking is coming into play. And if you look at the beautiful concept of intent-based networks is that when you look at this slide, if you have done this blueprint on the above, for example, if I take the laser, yeah, if you have done this blueprint as the above and you have deployed this on Monday, and for example, there was some changes and suddenly the network has broken on Tuesday or Wednesday. Now, with the intent Voyager, time Voyager, what you can do is you can just click 3 clicks and you can go back to the original configuration what you have done and bring up your data center back within minutes rather than within days. That is the concept of intent-based management. This is what we call it as source of truth. So what source of truth does in IBM is that it has the complete design, deploy, configuration, validation, everything done as one single source of truth. If any changes happens, then you can roll back to the original of the whole data center. Can you believe it? If you have 100 leaves and if you have 3 pods with 30 leaves each with two spines connected, whether it's a 3-stage IP clause or whether it's a 5-stage IP clause. But if there is any issue, then which device you will go and look in, which spine you will go and look in, which EVPN you will go and look in, which VXLAN you will go and look in, right? There is so many parameters which has been defined on that network that you will not be able to resolve the issue in minutes. But with this intent time Voyager, you with a single source of truth, you can just click some couple of clicks and then you can come back to the original data center which was working. That is what is intent-based management will give you. The intent-based management system, what we call is Apstra in Juniper. The what it brings, the differences, one, as I talked about, it gives you a complete IP clause or a L2 data center or a leaf and spine architecture, 3-stage, 5-stage, whatever you have defined in a blueprint as one system. So it will look at as one system. So you can define the underlay, you can define the overlay completely for this one system and bring it in minutes and hours. And second is the unified intent approach. As I spoke about, it starts from day 0, goes to day 2, and gives you a closed loop automation to actually match to the baselines and tell you whether you are able to meet those SLAs or not. And the third, it's a multi-vendor. That is the key. So you don't have to worry if you have A, B, C OEM already deployed and you are going to deploy Juniper, for example. Then the Apstra as an intent-based management will create you a fabric management, one network as one system with all this multi-OEM put together as one single system team. So today, if you look at this, the advantages, what you get is faster rollout, right? No issue of troubleshooting in terms of CLI, commands, multiple dashboards, nothing is required. It is just getting into one source of truth and looking at all the issues. And all this analytics is done through AI and ML. So what I wanted to say is that automated data center today, what you need to look at is an intent-based kind of an architecture with a multi-OEM capabilities, wherein you can have your underlay, where we have Juniper QFX series switches, which completely maps to any kind of EVPN, VXLAN, any kind of data center architectures with performance, scale, everything put together. And then the Junos operating system, which is our operating system, which gives you a lot of telemetry, a lot of scripting, a lot of flexibility in terms of using the data center as the overlay, as well as Apstra for the complete intent-based fabric management as a solution. So this is the one which gives you, I have just put one case study in terms of how the Apstra in one of a couple of customers, it has reduced from days and hours to actually minutes and hours to put together the complete deployment. So what they have said is that 80% improvement in operational efficiency and 90% improvements in time to deliver. So it was done in weeks instead of months, and like how the data center infrastructure gets actually configured and bringing it to production, right? So this can be done in hours, minutes, hours, and weeks. So a couple of case studies which I wanted to say. And the recognition what we have is we are at the Gartner in the topmost quadrant for the data center networking and cloud networking, as well as Apstra, where the Gartner has told that cool vendor in enterprise networking, right? And they have mentioned that the intent-based networking system can reduce the network delivery times by 50 to 90% and can reduce the number and duration by 50%. So this is the third-party reports, which actually says using IBM can improve your operational efficiency, faster rollout, multi-OEM architecture, and you can bring up your automated data center in a couple of weeks rather than a couple of months. So moving further, this is what I just wanted to touch upon the data center, where you can look at as an intent-based networking. The second is client to cloud. What is client to cloud, right? When we talk about any campus, when we talk about any branches being connected to the data center, you look at any client using a Wi-Fi or a wired or accessing the applications in the data center through any of the WAN networks. So if you look at this, then when there is an issue with the client, there is, as I was talking earlier, there is silos in the network. Wi-Fi is a different network, wired is a different network, and WAN is a different network, as well as your cloud and data center is a different network. Now, if the client comes and says that there is an issue with my application, or there is an issue with my Zoom or a team call, then identifying the problem, troubleshooting the problem, and then resolving the problem takes so difficult time, because they are all in silos, and every the NOC engineers has to get into wireless LAN, find out, get into wired LAN, get into WAN router, get into data center. So it will be a very long time to troubleshoot. So what we have come up with is, in the same way what we talked about in the data center, we have come up with something known as artificial intelligence driven enterprise. That means to say that we bring in the AI and the ML technology, wherein we look this as one single logical network, and we pinpoint exactly where the problem is, and also we also identify what is required to resolve the issue, right? The almost it gives you not only where the problem is, it will also tell us that what may be the problem Rajesh may be having when he's using his Wi-Fi as an access, right? So that is what we call it as client to cloud. So what it means that we actually do lot of service level experience for the Wi-Fi, wired, and the WAN users, right? How we do it? We create a baseline known as the SLE parameters. We set the SLE parameters. For example, for the Wi-Fi, we say time to connect, correct? How much time the user takes to connect to the Wi-Fi, his authentication mechanisms, his throughput, his bandwidth, right? All those we collect every minute from every user, from every network, whether it's a Wi-Fi, whether it's a wired, or whether it's a WAN, correct? And then we at the cloud integrate all this analytic data which we have captured through the AI, ML, and data science, and we do behavioral analysis, and we come out saying how your network is performing, how Rajesh as a user is good, bad, or ugly in terms of accessing the applications over the Wi-Fi, wired, and the WAN network, right? So this is what we bring in terms of artificial intelligence, and machine learning capabilities. So today in the market, if you see, no OEM can give you this functionality of Wi-Fi, wired, WAN, and the cloud with the data center put together to see as one single logical network, and then use AI as one of the analytics engine where we define those parameters and measure those parameters and find out the anomalies which are happening in the network, and also try to resolve it faster so that before the users come to know, the problems are solved. And we also do a lot of things. We do dynamic packet capture. We don't have to recreate the scene when there is a problem with the Wi-Fi. Before the user comes to know, we would have a dynamic packet capture and we can look into it and resolve the issues. So this is what we are talking about, AI ops. This is the one which Juniper is calling as AIDE, and no one in the industry can meet this kind of requirement, what we are trying to do in terms of resolving the issues and resolving the issues faster, as well as troubleshooting it, as well as pinpointing it where exactly the issue is, right? So this is what we call it as. And also we do a lot of things without anything, without sensors. That is the key. We use just the telemetry interfaces, and then we pull out a lot of analytics for every minute, and we do this in the cloud, and we give you this benefit for the operators, who, that is where we come up with operator experience as well as the user experience, right? So this is what I talked about the AI ops. So I will just talk about one of the other key things on the WAN, which we have recently acquired a company known as 128T. So this is a SD-WAN 3.0 solution. So as a SD-WAN, all the customers know that they will have remote branches and they will have data centers, as well as they may have hosted their applications in the SaaS, or they may be using public cloud for their testing and those kind of activities. And these customers will be access to internet, MPLS, LTE. You can use any kind of transport. You can reduce the cost of the link, of the capex, what you are going to put in the link level, and then also have all the zero touch provisioning capabilities, as well as have a lot of link failovers, faster failover, those kind of activities, what you do, what all the OEMs call it as a SD-WAN, right? That is what all the customers feel that SD-WAN is all about. But what we talk about is much more. We bring artificial intelligence into the SD-WAN, and we bring the user experience and the operator experience to the SD-WAN. So that is where we call it as 3.0, because we can actually collect all the analytics. We can provide you the user experience. We can tell you where the problem is, which router, which port, what congestion, whether the bandwidth is right, whether the links are flapping, what is the latency of the links, all those capabilities what we can provide. And the key what we do is, first is, all the SD-WAN OEMs only operate at the packet level, but we do session based. That is why it is known as SSR, Session Smart Routing. That means to say that we actually create sessions for every user and for every application what the user uses. That is the difference. It is like a firewall, right? Having a flow end to end. We maintain the session end to end with a bidirectional link being identified, and monitor that link always in terms of latency, jitter, packet loss as defined in the SLA parameters. This is one of the key things what we do, which no other OEM in the industry does it. And user centric, that's what I was saying. We call every user, which application is using, which user is using what application, what are the tenants, what are the granular policies required for that particular user or the applications, and those will be applied over the WAN links. And those SLA parameters, when met, will be those particular links are taken and reaching the destination to access the applications. That is what we call it as user centric. Tunnel free, have you heard of this? Because when everyone talks about SD-WAN, the first thing they talk about is IPsec tunnels and a hub router, which has to support some 100 IPsec tunnels, 1000 IPsec tunnels, the complexity what it brings in terms of IPsec tunnels configuration, hub being terminating thousands of IPsec tunnels, so much of complexity what it brings in. What we have done is we have made it very simple. We have brought tunnel-free technology, wherein we don't create tunnels on the SD-WAN. We just encrypt the traffic based on sessions. If a user starts a session to the data center, we encrypt the session because we know it is bidirectional. We have created a flow. We have created a session. We just encrypt that session end to end. So we don't have to create tunnels. So that is the key what we bring in. With this, we reduce the bandwidth by 30 to 40% because we don't have any overheads of IPsec tunnel. And then zero trust security. There are a lot of parameters we do in 3.0. I just want to, since there is not much of time, I'm not taking it. Path-based steering, backup path, load balancer. Okay, if there are two data centers, since we are doing sessions, if one data center has more sessions, automatically our SD-WAN will send rest of the sessions to the other data center. How good it is, like it is like a GSLV, right? But since we do the sessions, we know how many sessions we are carrying it to the data center. So all kinds of SD-WAN plus with tunnel free, zero trust security, user centric and session based is the key for 3.0. So and all this is coming under AAD as one solution. And what we have to troubleshoot, resolve the issues and make things very simple for the operators is the Marvis. Marvis is a NLP. This is the AI engine. You just have to go to the Marvis and say, how is my network today? It will tell you, if you see here, it will tell you your DHCP is good, but you have your AP, RF and association has some issues. If you go and drill down, it will tell you AP uptime has an issue, coverage has an issue, successful connects has an issue. So simple. You go to the Marvis, you get everything. You don't need to have CLI, you don't need to have GUI. That is the capability what we bring in, which is Marvis, right? So for example, I have put here, if Bob video call is not working, then with the technologies what I spoke about, with the SLE parameters, with the WAN assurance, with the 128T SD-WAN solution, right? With the AI capabilities, microservices architecture. Now I can go and see, it will tell me Wi-Fi is okay, wired okay, right? Security is okay, malware, everything is okay, but WAN was an issue. So once the WAN was, we know exactly where the problem was. There was a congestion. Once the congestion was relieved, then it became okay. This is what AI, what we are talking about. This is what, when we talk about client to cloud technology, that is a client connecting over Wi-Fi, wired, WAN, any transport to any public cloud, SaaS or data center, we are able to identify and resolve the issues better than before the users come to know, and operators have that experience so that they can roll out the things faster, they can provide that user experience and have the network availability more than 99.95%, right? So client level visibility I talked about, microservices cloud-based architecture, so it can scale to very high numbers of APs you want to deploy. Wired, you just throw the APs, throw the switches in your network. Don't worry about anything. Everything is taken care by the microservices architecture in the cloud. And we actually upgrade with features every week. So you don't have to worry. But if you have a controller in your office, then you need to take care of how many APs the controller is going to support. How do I upgrade the controller? What is my downtime? How do I add my features, right? There is so much of complexity when you have controller in the on-prem. So what we have done is we have adopted a microservices architecture, which relieves the customers of any of all the complexity, and just he keeps on adding APs and wired switches and the WAN routers and the locations, and everything is taken care from the cloud architecture. I talked about a lot of AI driven, and we have also a lot of BLE capabilities where you can use for indoor wayfinding, asset tracking, all those capabilities which are there in our solution. So this is the whole portfolio of AI driven enterprise. We have the entire API access points, outdoor, indoor, Wi-Fi 6, VIPs, 3 radios, all 5 gigahertz, all the capabilities with 16 antenna, Bluetooth, everything is available in the APs. We have the complete wired infrastructure in terms of 1 new 24 ports, 40 gig, 100 gig, PoE, non-PoE, multi-port, all the capabilities what you look at in the campus architecture. And also we have cloud-based switches which can even do EVPN, VXLAN for IT, OT kind of applications. Then the routers, firewalls, SRXs, and finally we have all these applications. Assurances I talked about, Wi-Fi SLE, wired SLE, WAN SLE, Marvis, which is the NLP, user engagement, BLE, asset tracking, all this leading into one microservices cloud architecture. So again, we are leaders in the Gartner for the wired and the wireless network. and these are the customers, what they are talking about, how they reduce their tickets from 100 tickets per month to 2 tickets per month. What the survey told, that is where there is a case study of service now where we have reduced the tickets from 100 to 2 in 6 months. And then if you see how fast it was to deploy the network, how easy to troubleshoot and all those capabilities. So one of the US in the SD-WAN perspective, what we have deployed is the biggest 11,000 sites of a pharmaceutical company where they have connected all their pharmaceutical stores across their US completely with a HA configuration and having Wi-Fi, wired routing, everything over the MPLS and the internet. And also they had a lot of issues in terms of the voice quality, what they were trying to use, as well as the POS devices, what they were using. Once they moved into 12080 SSR SD-WAN architecture, you can see the benefits, what they achieved in terms of the 99.99 reliability with faster rollout of stores and increasing their revenue and time to market. So these are some of the key things. Finally, I'm talking about connected security, because when we talk about all this, security becomes very important in terms of the way we are looking out today, right? So today there is no perimeter. Earlier we used to talk about perimeter, but today the users, applications, and the infrastructure. If you look at that, user can be anywhere, applications can be distributed, infrastructure can be dynamic. So perimeter is everywhere. So we need to take care at the campus, data center, branch, cloud, and also the remote users because of the pandemic, what we are seeing. So from that perspective, what we have is known as Juniper Connected Security. So what we take care is a threat-aware, proactive security, which takes care of the infrastructure, users, applications, and devices. Whether it's IT, whether it's OT, whether it's IoT, you look at any kind of architecture, because we have a few case studies on the manufacturing, BFSI, health, ITITS, universities, education. So when we look at all this from the wired, Wi-Fi, AID, enterprise, data center perspective, overarching our solution on security is Juniper Connected Security. So that is what I wanted to talk about. And the other one, what we have brought recently is SASE model. That means to say that we have put our security director, which is a management policy enforcer for the security devices in the cloud, so that you can move your applications to the cloud. You can have your applications on your data center. You can build your SD-WAN architecture. You can have your campus architecture. You can have your security devices spread across this entire your campus, branch, cloud, and data center. But you can push your policies anywhere, anytime, across the cloud, across the data center, across the branches, across the campus. So this is what we call it as a SASE model, wherein we bring in the policy enforcement, the management of the entire of your security in terms of anytime, anywhere kind of a concept. So this is the portfolio what we talk about in terms of whether it's a switches, whether it's Wi-Fi, whether it's security devices, or whether it's OT devices, end to end with all kinds of security. What we do it, we call it as a ATP cloud, where we bring in lot of AI and ML intelligence, and we provide proactive security and enforce the policies to end devices, end ports, end APs, and then take care of the security end to end. It's as a matter. Again, there is a third-party validation in terms of how we are better as compared to any of the OEMs today in terms of the data center protection of the security, or in terms of the campus and the brand security, or in terms of the malware protection, the zero threat attacks, what we take care. So this is what it is from my end. Thank you so much. Thanks for listening. Thanks for joining. Over to you, Gaurav.
Sure. Thanks, Rajesh. This has been a wonderful, input and the presentation. So right now, I think before I move to Dominic, there is one question which is with me. What kind of encryption it is using, and what about overhead?
Yeah,
And
we use the normal the SH the AES encryption. We use the AES encryption of 256, but we don't use the overheads of 72 bytes, what is used in the IPsec tunnel from 72 to 128 bytes. So that is where we reduce the bandwidth, and we reduce it to 30 to 40% reduction in the bandwidth in the link capacity.
Sure, thanks. I hope, Vivek, that answers your question. So Yep. So I think before we start with Dominic, I can take one or two questions with Rajesh if you have any, or maybe after Dominic's presentation also we will be taking few questions. And I missed earlier that guys we will be having a feedback form and wheel of fortune at the end for all the Alexa winners, and also the trees which we have promised. So we need your name in that form so we can plant that tree for you. Please stay on till the end to fill the form. If you have any question, I'll just wait for a few seconds, or else I will ask Dominic, please, you can share your screen and start with your presentation.
Yeah. Thanks for. Is it visible?
No, it's plan. Yeah, it's coming up. Yes.
It's coming up. Huh?
Yes.
Just let me go to the full screen. Is it gone in the full screen mode?
Not yet. Yes. Yeah, now it is. It's a bit slow. Yeah.
Thanks, Gaurav. And thanks FiberFreight for getting this platform organized, and we have been able to showcase real interesting things which are happening in the IT world, specifically in the domains of network as well as security. And partnering with Juniper, we have exciting things which we have done in the past, and we definitely encourage to do in the future as well. You've already gone through Rajesh's presentation, which speak about a lot of exciting, technologies and solutions, the acquisitions they have made in terms of in areas of SD-WAN, in areas of AI-driven analytics from a networking perspective. And we embark great esteem in being the partner of choice for Juniper in their journey for bringing these solutions to all of you end customers. And that's where we say the solution what we talk is as being a partner to their digital transformation. Okay, from within Inspirus perspective, it's been over 12 years of operating experience now in the SI market in India in specific. We've headquartered in Mumbai, but over the period now we have India market, also overseas market. And what we bring to the customers is a true sense of a complete IT digital transformation solution with deep dive expertise on new age technology solutions which cause disruption, like analytics. You've heard it from Rajesh in the earlier slides. Analytics, then cloud, next gen cybersecurity, next gen networks, and things like that. And where we address is we've been addressing it in three prominent verticals: BFSI, enterprise, and government, and associated to them being the healthcare and the PSUs or the smart city purpose-built solutions. Coming to a footprint, as I said, we have been pan-India, and all across India. But having said that, now we have set foot overseas as well, and we have stayed both in East Africa, Middle East, ASEAN, and also in US. Okay, if you see, our presence are growing now, and we've got credible clients base in all these regions to substantiate what we're talking about. From a services standpoint, and we've got a centralized state of art for a NOC perspective as well as SOC. And the subsequent slides will basically talk about it in terms of how we deliver services to our end customers, bringing these exciting technologies and solutions to the customers, be it captive or be it from our SOC or NOC solutions. So how do we target the market? We've circled across center of excellences basis on the technologies which we offer to the customers. Okay, so cybersecurity turns up to be a formidable center of excellence. A solution around that is what we defined as cybersecurity, COE. The next and the main one is infrastructure platform services. Now, when we're talking about infrastructure platform services comprises of all the data center technologies, the networking technologies, which you just heard in these earlier slides. And this has been our formidable COE, because we've started off business or SI business with networks, and ever since we've been growing. Now with the new age technologies like cloud, big data analytics, we see a lot of thrust and emphasis on those kind of solutions, because that's bring the differentiator to customers in terms of the new age solutions offerings. And we have a digital platform architecture which is called as anchors, and that encompasses all these new age technologies, be it big data analytics, be it cloud, and the services around it. And finally, smart solutions. Smart solutions is predominantly the smart city solutions, the IoT solutions, which we target, and the solution offerings in that space. So these in general provides the entire COEs which we target and bring solutions across. Coming to cybersecurity, and as I said, cybersecurity has been a formidable COE from a services standpoint. It's a complete if you see the offerings which we share, okay, it's complete 360 degrees, which talks about consulting, operations, implementation, and operations or manageability. So if you're talking about the SOC solutions or the transformational services, these basically encompasses everything. Like we try to do an assessment, we try to do provide a design and implementation, and also provide a complete operational structure to provide services to the customer from our SOC solutions. Now it could be managed SOC, it could be captive SOC. So the next one is the managed SOC solution. So where we say we define it as SOC as a service offering, and we esteem ourselves in taking have been onboarding now almost close to around 40 plus customers in probably 2 years of the new base establishment which we have deployed at MAPE. Which is there in Mumbai, headquartered from here. Having said that, we've been bringing a lot of new age next generation SOC solutions from this facilities, and being able to onboard a lot of customers in this perspective. Coming to the security or consulting services, now nothing is complete without we do a proper analysis of the customer security posture from a consulting perspective, and then provide them their maturity model, whether they are to what level and what did they need to envisage from a cybersecurity perspective, and that encompasses the consulting services offerings which we have. Coming to the main one, which is the security technology integration services, this talks about all the security solutions which we have to offer, be it networking security, data security, endpoint security, application security, cloud security, and the new stuff which is currently creating a buzzword is OT and IoT solutions, and security associated to that as well. So all these encompasses these securities technology integration services bucket. And finally, we talk about the identity and access management professional services. So from this perspective, the complete structure, advisory, transformation, and manageability of all these solutions get encompassed in this bucket. And this gives you a view of from how do we, from where do we address our customers from our SOC. This is located in MAPE, and we've been able to address not only Indian customers but also overseas customers from this state-of-the-art GSOC facility. It's a 24-seater SOC with 3 shifts, and it's with all the ISO certified certification standards. We have federated threat hunting platform, as well as it's always a room for innovation and new enhancements and capabilities around it. Coming to the one which we are talking about, so our association with Juniper has actually created the precedence in growing this particular platform, COE services. So infrastructure platform services, as I said, it's been encompassing the traditional data center and networking technologies, and being the oldest COE so far and still going strong. From a network perspective, Juniper being our partner of choice from a networking standpoint, because our association with Juniper is more a decade old now and still going strong. And obviously in the period we've been able to gather a lot of skill set around that around Juniper, and have expertise around that to provide solutions to customers. Besides being, while we are NSI, so obviously it's not only Juniper, we do have associations with other OEMs as well from providing solutions to that, because since it's a data center, it's just not network. So it could be HP, it could be Nutanix, Fortinet level, and so on. But what I wanted to showcase here is we've been growing strong with Juniper, being a highest level of partner with Juniper, and also provide those solutions to the customers in space of data center and campus networking with these next generation solutions. From a solution offering suite, what we capture here is so we've classified into various categories. The first one would be the traditional infrastructure in terms of server, storage, backup, and BCP. And the rest is completely the network piece. So when we're talking about network, it could be software defined from a data center perspective, which is SDN, from a network WAN perspective, which is SD-WAN. We're talking about traditional campus LAN WAN solutions. We're talking about Wi-Fi solutions. We're also talking about the cloud Wi-Fi solutions in terms. Then we also have solution offerings around UC, which is still there, voice and data. And then the next generation network and the transformation services. And again, what we provide is a complete 360 degrees solution offerings, which talks about assessment, it talks about integration, migration, validation, and managed services. So the managed services piece, we've already seen a SOC. We have the similar infrastructure from a NOC, and we provide an integrated IT ops center, which gives a complete solution as a service offering. If you want to do it OpEx from our service, from our facilities or infrastructure, or we do it on-prem as well. So these solutions are basically what we've done is we've targeted as themes. Okay, some could be from the traditional networking perspective, and how do we see use cases associated to it and the wins associated to it. So this talks about traditional campus and connectivity networks. And in this, we as I said, this has been our oldest COE. So over the period, we have a lot of solutions wins associated to it from a pure play network, campus network, from a connectivity solutions perspective, and different use cases is what I've mentioned. I'll showcase some the latest ones which we have picked up. So I try to take some of the use cases. This is from an airport perspective. Okay, and I wanted to emphasize here more is because we've been seeing a lot of traction where airports are being traditional, are changing or taking a shift from their traditional infrastructure to new age technologies. And we've got a good wins together with Juniper in this space, and definitely see a lot of merits in encompassing solutions along in this space to target the airport industry. Of late with COVID times, things are not good, but definitely there are infrastructure which is predominantly very old, and if you want to really bring them in the state of the art or from a new age perspective, there's been a lot of revolutionized solution offerings in this space which we have worked along. So if this talks about a typical airport which was envisaging a refresh from a network perspective to address their growing customer demands. And the requirement was also AAA from an authentication perspective, as well as what we provided here, the workload which they had was from a 40 gig network for core and distribution, and 10 gig for network and distribution to the access. Approximately user count is 5,000. This is so it was growing. As I said, it is a growing code. And what they wanted was to improve, as I said, improve their services to the airlines and get the connectivity back in place. Their old infrastructure was traditional, they wanted to refresh. So we moved with Juniper. We provide solution with Juniper MX 960 for the core and MX 480 for distribution, with EX 4300 from the access level perspective, and also designed EX 300 and EX 300 from access layer switches. Yeah, AAA was Aruba ClearPass solution which we provided, and obviously the support associated to it. After this, as I said, this was only the first piece. We've been able to grow this customer, okay, and having said that, the customer understood the merits of the technology which we had adopted here from their old infrastructure, and they have been able to grow this. We've been able to grow together along with Juniper in this account and use this as a use case, because we see a lot of applicability here from a network perspective, specifically when airports have trying to enrich their customer experience from a Wi-Fi first kind of a solution technology. They're looking at cloud Wi-Fi, and you want everything connected, either be it Wi-Fi or wireless is irrespective, but they want to showcase how they can upscale their services. So there's a lot of options, and the subsequent slides I will tell you how that can be a merit here. This I've taken from a government perspective. Now, this was a very unique government initiative where they wanted to bring the digital drive initiative within their state, having access to each and every means basically provide free target internet to lakhs of community and get connectivity, have a resilient scalable connectivity to the various governments and educational institutions. So basically this was creating that fiber backbone network, which was the priority of the government. And here we've been able to work again with Juniper, providing this solution to them. It was a resilient, high-speed, redundant networking with a ring architecture with IP MPLS technology with 3 layers, core aggregation and pre-aggregation. And again, it was not as the heart of the operations and the management of the SWAN. It was completely across the state, providing that networking, agile networking fiber network bandwidth backbone. And it's been really a good learning, because this was for the government of India initiative for the state in bringing this digital drive, and it was really good to see that the solution which we had adopted scaled up to that level. Coming to network, and this we've been hearing this in Rajesh's slides also, because obviously when we're talking about network and in the data center perspective, it has to be software defined. Now it's no longer a myth, but it is a necessity. And if you don't have a technology which adopts software defined both at the data center as well as the campus, you're not talking that, because it has to be software now. And you have to have that flexibility, agility to get the maximum out of it, because currently the solutions are all microservices driven. And if you're not having a technology to address that from a networking perspective, you're not there in the game. And having said that, we've been able to get so this is really very dear to us, and both to Juniper as well as Inspira. Without mentioning the name of the customer, but yes, definitely it was a challenge for us to really showcase our capabilities and credibilities as a solution, both Inspira and Juniper, to this customer, where there was an incumbent solution provider, both from an OEM and an SI perspective. The differentiator we bought as a solution offering to this customer really created that credibility in front of the customer, as well as the record time which we were able to complete this project. Okay, created credibility in our competencies to deliver the project. There is one in displacing incumbent OEMs which was there with the customer, and second is the execution to deploy it in the fastest record time, less than a year, to creates credibility in both ways. So that's why this is very dear to both Inspira and Juniper. The reason is because the differentiation which we caused to this customer in the technology has really gone big way, and we've been able to grow this customer with this technology ever since. And that's a record. So this again, it was a SDN ready network switch solutions which we had proposed at their data center, along with the network, with the firewalls and the IPS solutions as well. And ever since, we've been growing this customers seeing value in the solutions which we've been offering to them. Coming to the WAN aspect, and you've heard this in Rajesh's slide, and we are really very excited because 128T acquisition has really created inroads with the technology offerings which Juniper now has to provide to end customers. And we are very excited to associate ourselves with Juniper to get the references in this stature from us SD-WAN perspective. And there's lots from a solution perspective. So if we talk about a typical WAN, okay, these are basic requirements which, when we're talking about a defined WAN requirement, so it should be easy to deploy, it should be cloud-based centralized management, makes cloud look like a branch office, reduce total cost of ownership, performance, ensures performance, scalable art network. These are various requirements, and over the period, zero trust security, and you need to see that you've seen that in Rajesh's session where he spoke about the session-based encrypt. We reduce the overheads because the encryption, we don't use tunneling. Okay, and those are, and as we keep on growing, technologies like this are really required to see how we can reduce the bandwidth, and we utilize the bandwidth in an optimized manner, providing load drop in the response from the end customer's perspective. And in this context, we've been able to again create inroads here as well. As I said, SD-WAN, typically we see use cases in banks. Yes, there is also other retail outlets where there are use cases, but in this case, I typically took a bank as a reference, and it was a public sector bank, Pan India reference, where they had not only branches but also ATMs and circle offices across. We provided the WAN solution to them with where they were looking at end of life infrastructure, and perfect example for solution for refresh with new age technologies. We've been able to bring SD-WAN with WAN optimization, zero touch provisioning solutions, and a scalable solution. And specifically now in banks, if you see with the mandate of the government in terms of mergers and reducing the banks to fewer, creates a lot of overheads in terms of how do you able to address the existing install base and bring a centralized platform which is acceptable, agile in nature, to access everything. And that's the challenges which many of the customers face, because some are already done in refresh cycles, some are due in a refresh cycle. How do you have a seamless platform which encompasses everything in and provides that efficiency and agility is also important, and it should be scalable. So these are kind of challenges, but yes, solutions are there to address it, and we've been able to do that with the technologies. This is very dear, okay, and you've heard the passion which Rajesh spoke in his earlier presentation as well, and that's and for me as well, it is because AI-driven enterprise and campus is the next thing. And if you see the solutions around it, okay, the features which you provide and the solutions which you'll get in creating those differentiator is remarkable. Because it really creates a lot of merits in terms of the self-healing capabilities, in terms of ease of operations to AI-driven ops, as well as proactive automations, and leveraging on the virtual BLE
Seems we lost Dominic.
Bluetooth low energy solutions with the BLE solution. Hello.
Yeah, Dominic, we lost you in between. If you,
Yeah,
you
I'm
can
sorry.
switch off your video and speak. I think that will be helpful.
No, sir.
Okay, go on. Yeah.
Can you hear me? I'm sorry.
Yes, I can hear you.
I'm sorry about that. Yeah. So I was saying, from an AI-driven enterprise and campus. So we see the campus network. I've shown you in my earlier slides where a typical campus network is always a given requirement, but the intelligence or the disruption comes when you try to make this more tech savvy, more AI driven, and more value for money from a solution perspective. And that's where when you leverage solutions like Juniper Mist, okay, is what we've been able to provide here.
Dominic, your voice is breaking again.
Is it? Gaurav, am I audible?
You are breaking in between, Dominic.
Let me change the network. Just give me a minute. Sorry.
Okay, but meanwhile, when Dominic is changing the network, guys, so if you have any question, you can, put in the chat window. And also, I have shared the feedback link of the session, the tree certificate, how you want to print your name on the certificate, as well as we will be running the Wheel of Fortune immediately after the Dominic session. So you can fill the feedback form, all the names which will be there. We will run the feedback form from there.
Is it better? No.
Still, I think it's breaking.
Yeah, okay.
Sure, Jitendra, we will take this request about PPT and material. We will request Juniper team to share it with us, and we will part it to you.
Yeah, Gaurav, is it better now?
Yes, I can hear you.
I'm sorry about that. Just give me a minute. Let me. Is the screen shared?
Shankari, that was my personal message. Who Jitendra sent me a personal message. I was replying to him. Thank you.
Is the screen visible?
Yes, Dominic.
Yes.
Thank you. I'm sorry about that. Sometimes this doesn't work and switch over. My apologies. Yeah. So here, what I wanted to bring was, and I want to spend some time here because, as I said, this and it was a to
Dominic, you are still breaking. I think we will not able to hear or get what you are saying. I don't know if you have any other hotspot or network meanwhile. Okay, I think by the time Jitendra comes in, and as I have said earlier, you can guys fill your feedback form, Wheel of Fortune. And also now I'll ask Rajesh sir to take some questions. You can raise your hand and put your question forward for Rajesh sir. So Rajesh sir, I have just got one, my personal chat, which is asking, when we are implementing this SaaS solution, so what are the, lookout we need to have, or what are the things we need to make sure that as a checklist that these things are in place and we are good to go for that solution, or any challenges you see when you are working with your clients or partners?
Which one?
For SaaS solution.
In between. Okay. For a SaaS.
Yes.
SaaS solution, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So it is just you have to take care of in terms of what are the security devices, how many security devices, right? What are the devices you need to push the policies as a complete security architecture. First, you need to have the customer needs to have a framework, right? This is my network architecture. This is my security framework, and these are the security zones or perimeter or external, internal, then the network, then the Wi-Fi. So they have to look at their complete framework and architecture, and then they need to see how this because they may be using internet breakout in branches, so they may have a router with a lot of security policies being defined there, right? The campus, they may have data center where they have a perimeter firewall, application internal firewall, those kind of ATP, so IPsec VPNs for work from home. So they may have a lot of this kind of architecture being positioned in the campus, in the data center, and in the campus they may have endpoint security, they may have a lot of Wi-Fi related policies, right? And a NAC being pushing the policies if there is any issues or any violation happening. So once we bring up with that framework, then it is just that they need to just connect it to the cloud, right? So one of the locations they will have to connect it to the cloud for SASE reachability. From there, they will get a single dashboard, right? In the NOC, they will get a single dashboard wherein they can push the policies, enable the policies, define the policies, everything from one place and push it to branches, campus, data center, cloud, everywhere. So one is the framework, one is their architecture, and where they want to connect to the SASE cloud. And then they will have the dashboard with this many devices. This is my architecture. This is my topology. And then they can start using the security director in the management cloud, which is the policy enforcer and the management and the orchestration solution, which will push the policies to all the locations as well as to the data center as per the requirements of the customer.
Okay, and for a medium-sized enterprise, how much time they should think that to implement this solution, this much is the time minimum required, like maybe overall 3 months, 6 months?
Yeah, see, for a medium enterprise, the deployment with the AI and today with automation capabilities, right? So it may take around 6 to 8 weeks
6 to 8
to put
weeks.
everything in the framework and deploy it.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
So right now, yeah,
Dominic is there.
anyone? Anyone on the call like to raise the hand because I'm still Dominic is not back. Maybe Mohini, if you can call up Dominic, or Janvi, if you are hearing us. Okay, Dominic is here. Mohini, Dominic is here. Can you make him the co-host?
Yeah, sir.
Okay, and for everyone, I think for feedback form and Wheel of Fortune, we have got 30 entries. I will be taking a cut at 12:27, so that in last 3 minutes I can run it. Please fill the form immediately. I'm posting it again in the chat so that you can fill the form and we can run this. Dominic, you able to hear us now? Seems he's not connected to audio.
Gaurav, if Dominic is not able to come, if Mohini has the slides of the case studies, I can take it.
Okay. Let me, Mohini, can you open those slides and share your screen? Dominic is saying he's back. Yeah, Dominic, you able to hear us now?
Yeah, I can. So
we can hear you now as well. Please go on.
No, I will not take more time. It was only this one slide.
Okay.
I wanted to showcase. I think. Is it visible?
Yes, we can see your screen.
Yes.
So what I wanted to showcase here is, because as I anyway the time I've exceeded the time, but only one thing here, we together along with Juniper were able to create a differentiator for a pure play campus Wi-Fi solution requirement, okay, which was completely actually a wired network solution, and we were able to convince the customer from a mindshare from moving from a wired controller to a cloud-based Wi-Fi solution, and specifically for the benefits to showcase to the customer. We spoke about the solution. We spoke about the time-consuming manual IT task, how it could be replaced with AI-driven proactive automation and self-healing capabilities. Obviously, lowering networking operational cost, which you heard in Rajesh's earlier session. But this became into reality, and the technology which we provided to them, it's over the customer is really happy with Marvis, and we have been able to grow this to the customers. So it's a unique case study for us, because we were first in India along with Juniper to create this, and ever since we've been able to grow this. Besides this I would like to skip fast, because we've anyway spoken about our SOC, and this is our NOC. Okay, so we talk about an integrated tech ops center, and the solutions what we can provide here is obviously monitoring, cloud management tools, workspace and device management, and provide a complete multi-tenant requirement similar to what is there in SOC. And this is what we can offer. In the interest of time, I just don't want to run through all those points, but yeah, we can. So while we have a unique SOC, we also have a NOC, and we provide an integrated operations center as well. And this is again hosted from our headquartered in Mumbai, MAPE. I think that's my last slide. And I'm sorry about the hiccups in the middle, since in the interest of time.
Sure, Dominic. Thank you for providing this insight. This is like, good to see how the Juniper team and Inspira is coming as a collaboration and helping all the enterprise, with this solutioning around AI-based network and SaaS solution. So yes, I think Meanwhile, I am working on this form to download it. So please raise your hand, get your question answered, and we can take it from there. Anyone? Yes. Okay. Will this Juniper tool identifies ransomware or bot inside network, any malware or any attack in the cloud?
Yes, yes.
Yes.
So we have something known as the advanced threat protection in the cloud mechanism. So what happens is we will be able to identify. We can do sandboxing, and we can also identify the malware, ransomware, any kind of these attacks. So there are two kinds we do. One is that if it is it's already a known kind of a ransomware malware, then we just match the hash and then immediately apply the policies across the entire network. That means any entry across the network will be blocked. So immediately the policy will be pushed to the all the devices across the network. Second, if it is a malware which is like a sleeping kind of a thing, then we will take it to the sandboxing, create that environment, build that behavior, and then we will try to simulate that kind of what it can trigger, and then we prepare and we define the policy and push it across the network. So both conditions we take care of in terms of the malware being attacked and applying a policy immediately to the entire network. And the second is we can also do a simulation and then identify that this is going to trigger and then apply the policy. And also we can do the sandboxing mechanism.
Okay, and is it a agentless or any tool to add in each location?
So it is just in the security, in our security devices, there is one license which goes as a ATP license, which needs to be purchased. So once that is done, then all the ATP capabilities are available onto those security devices.
Okay, and I think Shrikant, this answers your question. Let me know if you need any more detail on this. Okay, so we are on time. I'm just looking for. Thank you, Shrikant. Any other question? Yeah, I'm just waiting, and I have just got all the names which have filled the survey. So let me quickly do a. If there's no hand or no question, I can do the wheel of fortune here right now, as we always do using Siri. So let me see if there's any more. Okay, so I'm sharing my screen. Okay, you able to see 38 names on my screen. So what I will be doing, asking Siri in front of you that give me a name between 1 to 38. Let's see what it comes with. Hey Siri, give me a number between 1 to 38. So you're able to see it's the number 14. Okay. So number 14 we have here is Sandeep Kothari. So Sandeep, I hope you are on the bridge. Many congratulations. You have won the Alexa Amazon Alexa Echo Dot. Congratulations. Okay, with this I will say thanks to Rajesh and Dominic and all Inspira team as well as Juniper team to be here. So Rajesh, any last thoughts and closing comments from your side, or Dominic, you want to add something? Yeah.
Go ahead, Dominic.
You can go ahead, Rajesh, because I have already taken more time. So
Yeah, sure. No.
Better for you.
Yeah, we have taken time. Thank you so much for taking out time and joining this event. We hope that it will be useful when you want to plan your network, when you want to look at the data center or a campus or a SD-WAN, whenever you are trying to plan this kind of networks in future. So you may have a fair idea what needs to be looked at. And primarily what we wanted to say from Juniper and Inspira is that we are moving into a artificial intelligence AI driven kind of solutions, which will really help you in terms of actually making the network simple, reduce the complexity, increase the simplicity, as well as have the scale, performance, and also gives you a lot of visibility, deep visibility into the network. So if you have, if you are looking for these kind of, and also the good point is the multi-OEM integration, because we don't have any proprietary protocols. We are a open-based architecture kind of a solutions what we offer. So multi-OEM integrations, AI capabilities, faster resolution, all those capabilities, if you are looking at, as we saw in the survey, I think we are able to meet those expectations, and we were able to present which are meeting those expectations and meeting your expectations in terms of what you're looking for in the future when you want to deploy this kind of networks. Thank you so much. Thanks for your time. Thanks, Gaurav.
Sure. Thank you. It was amazing listening to you. And there's a lot of praise comments coming in the chat window. So thank you, everyone.
Thank you so much.
Looking forward to have more interesting and detailed session going forward. So whoever has asked for one-to-one demonstration as well, and we will be in touch with you. And
Sure.
Juniper.
We are keen to do the demonstrations, POCs for any of the technologies what we spoke today.
Yes, we are
with our
getting
partner
some
Inspira, so we can take it up for any of the customers what they're looking for.
Sure. Thank you, Rajesh.
You have been a remarkable audience, and thanks for your patient listening.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, everyone. See you soon. Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Yep.
See you down.